And spawning at the top right-hand side of the map, it is top left-hand side. I am doing the changing the scenes as well, Daiejo. And it is for Sidestorm Gaming, GuMiho.
Nice. And on the bottom right side, playing for Team NV, it is Creator.
Will the creator become the destroyer, Daiejo? That is the question.
He is pulling the right moves for it as he starts with the gateway on the low ground. This indicates that he definitely wants to go for a really fast Adept core before Nexus. Just so that he can pressure the CC a little bit on the side of the Terran.
Yeah. So we'll see about that. We'll see if he's able to accomplish that. Should the probe move around? It's just scouting for proxies, I guess, right now. But can it do anything to help the case of the Adept on the other side of the map, or not really?
It's difficult to say, really. I think it's going to come down to how soon GuMiho scouts this and if he's going to go Marine or Reaper out of his barracks. Of course, if he goes Reaper, I think it could be extremely hard for him to hold this. But he does instead go for a Marine. So he's going to have a bit more firepower to hold. So that does help his case a little bit. But he hasn't scouted, so I guess we'll see if he makes a bunker or not.
Okay, and I was wondering whether this probe would actually have a say in the matter, but not able to really accomplish anything. Arrives in time to at least confirm the CC, and unluckily for Creator, he doesn't get enough distance between the probe and the Marine. So a little bit of a slip up there, going one hex too many up the ramp, will cost him his first probe.
Yeah, unlucky for him. Didn't get even an attack on the SCV or the Marine, which would actually allow the Adept to two-shot those units. But GuMiho was already prepared for this. Look, he's making Marines one by one instead of making a reactor. So he's going to have comfortably 3 Marines to defend the Adept at least.
See, that was my initial question, actually, whether the probe could actually contribute on the other side or if it was just useless on the other side. So it should have at least tapped the SCV once and then maybe look to tap the Marine. Does that make it too big of a giveaway? Like, is there if your probe starts attacking those units, like that it's an Adept follow-up?
No, I think most pros is just they always won't tap the SCV at least, so that in the future, like in this case, for example, it could two-shot the SCV, but there's no reason not to, basically.
Yeah. Oh wow, Weird Shade goes back into the main, which is closed off, but now readjusts to get out. Marines are not going to be able to catch up regardless. So a little bit of a misclick as well to begin the day from Creator, but fixes it promptly. Very interesting shield battery position. I actually quite like that.
Yeah, it doesn't actually... I don't think it delays any of the mining whatsoever.
I don't think so.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's not a straight line to the gas, but there's a little bit of delay for the third worker anyway, so that should be perfectly fine.
Indeed, indeed. And it looks like Oracles will be the choice here for Creator against a Widowmine drop. I do want to give the edge slightly to GuMiho in terms of build orders. It would be a lot worse if he was going Widowmine drop against something like Phoenixes, who could just instantly lift the Widowmines before they burrow.
Is there anything you don't give the edge against for Widowmines? Even Phoenix openers, it seems like Widowmines are just so potent, no?
It depends on if the Phoenixes catch the Widowmines or not. It also depends if the Terran decides to go for an armory, so that the Widowmines stay invisible after they shoot, which would force the Creator to use several revelations to clear them up.
Okay, I'm just going to make sure that the stream is working properly since it's the first game of the day. And yeah,
good idea.
Ticket to Madison, you say?
What's going on here?
It looks like his follow-up is going to be Magfield Cyclones. I actually experimented with this a little bit in the new patch, and it didn't feel too bad at all against
what changed to make it viable?
Opener. So Magfields actually now, instead of making them do double damage against armored units, it actually does plus 10 damage per shot against everything.
Okay.
Which includes Adepts, Phoenixes, but in this case, I guess it's mostly going to be Stalkers and Oracles, so not that much of a buff in this case.
Yeah, a little bit of a nerf, if anything, right? So, yeah, we'll see. Then again, I mean, they were already very good against this type of unit. Stalker is a chunkier unit, more expensive unit, and single target is ultimately what the Cyclone excelled at. So a little bit less damage to single target is still a single target target basically, right? So it should be still pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Just a more well-rounded unit now.
Indeed, indeed. And he is going to follow up with Banshee tank, actually. So this is a pretty push-heavy army, to be honest. And he is getting a third CC behind it, so he, of course, has the option of not pushing at all, maybe faking out, forcing some warpins. But yeah, his stim and the rest of his bio is going to be very delayed.
Yeah, most definitely.
It's-
And I mean, Macfield for just the 2 seems a little bit of an overinvestment to me, but I mean, he clearly sees the value. Is there a reason for that?
I think GuMiho just likes to be different, but also he really likes to put an emphasis on the early game. He likes to have that power.
Okay.
Additionally, this army is extremely strong against Blink Stalkers, so they're not going to be able to do any damage if he's in position like this. Oh, he actually caught the Banshee, I believe.
Something died for sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the Banshee that he caught with those Stalkers. So that's a huge
Stalkers.
pick-off.
Yeah, Stalkers are gonna blink into the main. There's a tank there, but not yet sieged. Cloak under peril as well. Very easily snipeable. 2 Cyclone drop is not gonna really accomplish much in the main of Creator, especially on Micro. Those units need to be babysat. And now as the Marines pull back, but like you said, there is no stim in sight or anywhere near it. So the Marines are gonna slowly encroach onto the Stalkers, and now the attack move of GuMiho is not good enough to drag most of his Marines over there. The Cyclones on the other side look to have sniped an Observer, but that is only a consolation prize. With good target firing, maybe one more Stalker goes down. But that was a fantastic minute for Creator.
Yeah, he actually ended up losing his Oracle, but it doesn't matter because he killed 11 SCVs and he finished off the Medevac and 2 Cyclones with Mag Field. Keep in mind. And he canceled the Cloak on the Banshee, killed the Banshee, like we said. And there's really not much going on for GuMiho in this case, except that his SCV count is still quite healthy.
Yeah.
But he does have to be a bit worried about some kind of Colossus timing and whatnot, because he only has one. Or he has 2 tanks, but not a whole lot of Marauders.
Okay. Well, still, it's going to be very difficult for those Stalkers to breach, as they are going to park themselves right outside here. But Creator should be pretty happy with this. Would you say he needs a 4th now, or what is the transition for Creator? What is he looking to do? Like, I don't think trying to breach GuMiho in the near future is a good idea, right? You just take your advantages and run with them, I imagine?
Yeah, you just focus on chrono boosting your forges. You want to get your charge. You absolutely cannot fight before charge is done. And yeah, he could even try to get a 4th base right now, expedite his economy a little bit. But it's possible. Yeah, he's actually going to go for 4 more gateways and a Dark Shrine.
Okay.
So really just a very powerful mid-game army. Maybe try to force a little bit of a push.
Okay, I mean, there is flat surface leading into this triangle between the natural and the 3rd, but we already see GuMiho fortifying that position, making supply depots, making a command center even in the front, turrets, right? So it's not going to be particularly easy to go through there. On the other side, you have 2 narrow ramps leading into the 3rd, which is rather choky as well. So I'm not sure that breaching, like, it feels like Creator had a strong advantage heading into the mid game. And now he does take his 4th, so I really do like that a lot more. But yeah, it sounded a little bit like you thought he was about to go.
Yeah, but I guess he's just gonna focus on those upgrades, which is, I guess, it's not a bad idea. The upgrades did get a little bit of a buff. They do research about 7 seconds faster now. So he could hope to get that 2-2 before GuMiho does, but GuMiho is already on top of things. I mean, he has double eBay 2-2 on the way before Creator starts his. So honestly, this is not a bad position at all for GuMiho. He's so set up defensively, but I also feel like soon he might have an army that can actually go into the map and maybe push against the 4th base. The most important thing for Creator here is to not let GuMiho siege his base, right? That's the most powerful tool of the tank. It's just to be able to hold positions so powerfully, but not very good at pushing across the map.
Yeah, Creator has done a very good job of setting up a perimeter so he can see the army exiting from whichever way it wants to exit from. The Stalkers here are also going to have a heads up as far as like when GuMiho is taking his fourth. That might be an area that maybe Creator can go to with his army once he collects it all. Now, once he gets that 2-2 going, perhaps, as he's now adding disruptors. And yeah, I mean, I love the play from Creator, maybe minus the fact that he delayed his fourth in favor of more production when he wasn't planning on attacking, and his early game was good enough that I think GuMiho had no business being out on the map. But I guess just playing it a little bit safer. And
Yeah.
now we're here.
It does seem to be this way. I mean, both are actually playing pretty safe, like not really willing to be the aggressors.
Okay.
Creator is making some moves. He's gonna throw out these adepts that he had from the early game.
Very nice. 9
Not
SCVs.
bad. Yeah.
I mean, I thought I heard some swipes as well, so it might have been the DTs on the other side as well. Do you think it was just those adepts killing 9 SCVs? That's crazy.
I mean, they did have +1 attack, which means they 2-shot SMGs instead of 3.
Okay. Yeah.
It's definitely a factor, I believe.
Yeah,
And
that
in this
must have been.
case, this is actually kind of interesting that he's pumping out so many Immortals instead of Disruptors. This is
Yeah,
a bit
well,
unusual.
It is a bit unusual. You were talking, however, about the siege tanks and their potential, right? So maybe he's looking to catch GuMiho out on the middle of the map and just go for it. It is a lot of Immortals, though, and the map is kind of choky, too. It's not like you'll have a lot of surface area. Those are clunky units. They have very short range. They're a little bit fat, and that means, you know, they're not very easy to maneuver if it's not an open situation. So we'll see where Creator chooses to park and where he chooses to take the engagement. There is a ton of Marauders, in fairness, so... I mean, when I look at the GuMiho's army, I'm like, yeah, Immortals look pretty good, actually.
Actually a crazy game. I mean, I don't know. I don't really see TVPs like this. And he's even going into range liberators, I believe, as he starts. Actually, maybe could be BCs even. He has to be tech on those.
Yeah, but the attack is happening now as Creator is encroaching onto GuMiho's area here. He knows where the bio was, and he thinks that's his opportunity to leap him forward. He is going to go through a narrow choke, and a lot of the tanks are still defending from the left. So now Creator has to reposition a little bit more to the right to avoid those tank shots while still going up the ramp. GuMiho now slowly encroaching with a couple of tanks. Disruptor's gonna have a say in the matter, bruising 2 of those tanks, but hesitance in finishing them off. The Immortals now pop on forward to give a little tap to each one of those, but in the process, Creator's gonna lose a lot on the retreat by the looks of it. Now GuMiho perhaps is the one overextending, as it's the Warp Prism lending its hand. What a crazy fight.
Indeed, and they actually ended up trading pretty evenly.
Yeah.
Maybe Creator went a bit worse because he lost some of those tech units, but he does have all of his Stalkers remaining, and he is going to need that anti-air for the BCs that are about to pop out soon.
Oh man, BCs are crazy. If you are GuMiho, do you just ship the BCs over to the other side? Because it feels like Creator is applying enough pressure that you kind of need every unit, but also the BCs are not going to contribute that much on offense, and they could do a lot to the economy of Creator. However, it's now GuMiho trying to engage, threatening to pull the boys there. And, I mean, there is 4 Archons, so those would melt fast. But Creator, under a lot of pressure, seemingly to make something happen. He does have the supply advantage right now, but not in the, or actually just barely in the army count as well. So here he comes. It's a decent concave for him. Only 2 tanks in range of fire here. 3 tanks make it for GuMiho as Creator blinks on forward, and he seems to have breached indeed. 2 BCs are already out on the map, but not enough to have a say in the matter, and GuMiho will have to tap out as Creator, on the 3rd round of that punch, manages to pierce through.
That was actually a powerful push. I mean, he didn't even bother starting 3-3 for Creator. He was so convinced that he could kill GuMiho there with his 2-2 attack. That was really quite powerful. And I guess, I don't know if GuMiho felt that his only way to come back after that initial trade was to TP the BCs across the map, but that's what they did. And maybe it wouldn't have mattered anyways. I mean, that was way too overwhelming of a force by Creator, but yeah.
No, that's what
I'm
I
not
was.
sure.
That's what I was saying during the fight, right? It's like you have 2 BCs, but what are you gonna do with those? Like, if you send them to the other side of the map, you're at least giving yourself a win condition. You fold, his economy is gonna be destroyed by those BCs, right? Like,
Yeah.
whereas in defense, what do they really accomplish, the VCs? They're going to be so slow to kill anything, and then you have no win condition. Let's say you hold. Are they going to contribute enough to the hold? I don't think so, right? Like every unit counts, but they have so much more potential on offense there that I understand the decision completely. I think it's what I would have done as well.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I definitely did miss there by GuMiho were some ghosts. I think ghosts are always an insane addition to your army against Protoss, and maybe it's the factor that actually ended up costing him the game. He just didn't have the EMPs to blanket the army, and also maybe even use on the Archons there that Creator had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, there was a few Archons there, and and Creator was coming in pretty bunched up as well, but. Yeah, we'll discuss that a little bit more after the intros, as in the bottom right-hand side, it is for Storm Gaming, GuMiho.
And on the top left corner, it is playing for Team NV, Creator.
That is correct. But yeah, I mean, that was pretty crazy compositionally more than anything, right? Like, both players kind of playing outside the box, and kudos, I think, to Creator being the more adaptive player. You never really see that many mortals in this matchup, but it seemed warranted when you looked at GuMiho's army.
Yeah, it actually worked out pretty well. I mean, they were blasting Marauders left and right, and even the tanks, I think a few of them got to the tanks for a bit and just got obliterated, so...
Yeah,
really not bad.
And that is just the thing, right? Like, with making so many Marauders, it's like that unit is pretty good, right? Like, it's kind of like a catch-all unit. Like, it's good. It's maybe not great against Zealots, but you can at least kind of kite the charge with the KDA grenade or whatever it's called, the concussive shells, right? So. I mean, what are they bad against? Is it just Immortals? Like, they're pretty decent against Colossus even, right? Like, they're really good against Stalkers, obviously. So, yeah.
They're not that good versus charge lots usually.
Yeah.
But, yeah. A reminder to update the scores as well.
Oh, thank you.
Go 1-0 in best of 3. And this time, actually, Creator not going for a low ground gateway. Instead, going for a normal Nexus timing. And GuMiho actually goes for one of his clunky builds where he expands in the main and goes for Marine Reactor instead with the factory before the reactor. So just playing actually pretty safe.
Very much so. Okay. How do you like that? I mean, CC on the high ground, like, when is that necessary? Like, what is the advantage of that versus low ground?
Well, for example, the build that GuMiho did now actually would not be good against what Creator did last game, because he went factory before reactor. He would have last Marines to hold the CC.
Oh, okay. It's a Marine issue, not a CC timing issue?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you need to have 3 Marines. You need 3 Marines to beat an Adept. And the Adept will be arriving while there's still 1 Marine only.
I see. Okay, so taking the safe route there is GuMiho. And now he is going to try to get rid of this pylon. The probe will go down. The pylon really won't accomplish anything at all, right? Like, it's not really going to block the CC. So,
yeah, I think it was mostly a vision thing. Maybe he wanted to see what was up, if the Hellion would stay there. Not exactly sure. But Phoenix is going to be the choice this time, not an Oracle. And actually, that might pan out for GuMiho as he goes into Marine Cyclone Medivac. So definitely a lot of potential to counterattack, which is the Phoenix weakness sometimes.
yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, the Cyclone, how often do you see Cyclones early on in this matchup?
Pretty often.
Yeah?
Yeah, against the Stargate, they're a must-have unit, basically.
For sure.
You need at least one, and sometimes players will make multiple of them if they want to be aggressive against Stargate.
Yeah, because he is making 2 again, right? And yeah, I think that Cyclones, like the first Cyclone, always has a lot of value in my mind because there's less units out on the map. And again, it is a single target unit. But after the fact, okay, Marine drop is actually going to force the Phoenixes back. 1 probe already falls here. And the Phoenix, I mean, they're not particularly good against Marines, but when you can lift 2 out of 7, 3 out of 7, all of a sudden that's not going to be too bad of a trade. Now the Marines are going to go to the low ground. The Phoenix could lift one up at a time, but without the help of their friends. Oh no, Cyclone, what have you done? It looked like it suicided, but no, the Phoenix are actually going to drop him, and now it was bait. The Cyclone has tanked so much, the Medivac will pick it up with 1 HP to spare. And one Phoenix already down, maybe a Stalker falling down. If the truck can stay on it, the Phoenix are trying to angle for that Cyclone. The Stalker is trying to shoot at it, but it's just baiting over and over. Finally, the Stalker from the high ground will be able to take that guy down. That was Faker. What was that Cyclone?
That was quite a jukes there on the Cyclone. That was very well done by GuMiho as he does continue his aggression here. Dropping to the mid, he has to be careful about this Medivac. So low. Okay, does unload all of his Marines while he pushes at the third with the rest of his forces.
That
Creator's in
was
quite a
simple
pickle
piloting
here.
that Cyclone. That was crazy, actually. But yeah, Joe, more probes are falling. Creator's falling apart here.
It really is. I mean, he still has a chance to stabilize. He cleans up the Marines in the main. Now he just needs to clean this up, which he comfortably will with the Immortal coming out.
Yeah, that's a gift, actually. Oh, I mean, Phoenix at least goes down. Stalker might too. Damn, okay. I mean, I thought that was a gift from GuMiho, to be honest. But ends up killing 2 units. It doesn't trade too cost inefficiently towards the end there. And now Banshee, what a chaotic build.
This is not the unit you usually make against Stargate, especially if it doesn't have Cloak, because Phoenix is just completely destroyed Banshee, but it still somehow managed to sneak in and kill 5 probes, so definitely paid for itself there.
Yeah, it was already like halfway done when the Phoenix were across the map. And then the Phoenix had to recall while it was building for the first Medivac Marine. So it was just an issue of GuMiho choosing not to cancel it upon seeing the Phoenix and the Banshee being so far along, I guess.
Indeed, indeed. And now, honestly, I like this position a lot for GuMiho. He has the 3rd CC done, and he's still equal on worker count. Just the only thing that the Creator has going in his favor is that since the barracks were relatively late, that means stim is not going to be done for at least another 2 minutes. So he has some time on his side to stabilize a bit, maybe get his production up and going. But GuMiho, he might even opt to push without stim, so this is something that could be scary actually and catch Creator off guard.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have stim or combat shields, and he just started 1-1, so I almost want this to be a fake. But GuMiho, he has applied so much pressure so effectively so far, and still those Cyclones, very powerful units in the early game. He has made apparently up to 3 because 2 of them died earlier. And now with the help of the Marines, it's not going to be easy for these Phoenix to encroach onto the Cyclones. They do pick up 1. With the help of the shield battery overcharge, there should be no problem for Creator to clean this up. The Immortal is disabled, but not for long enough here, as it goes chasing Marines instead of the tanks. It doesn't matter, as the Phoenix are a plenty here. And yeah, odd attack for me, right? Like you just started 4 upgrades. You're ahead in economy. Like the supply was lying. It was GuMiho far ahead, and now he's not.
Yeah, I mean, he just fought under shield battery overcharge, and I think he might have just thrown the game, because now, I mean, he's going to have to wait until stim, until he has any, like an army that can actually pressure Creator at all.
Yeah.
And he has to do things like this, like pulling SCVs to be able to defend against slow gateway.
He might just be dead. Oh my god, this is just horrible. The Phoenix are going to have a field day with the Medivacs as well, which is obviously not what you want. This 3rd is going to have to be lifted off. 12 SCVs have already gone down. Mine will answer and kill one of the Phoenix at least to push Creator out of the natural base of GuMiho. But yeah, a little bit of a throw.
Yes, he does finally get stim now, so he can at least try to push this army back, but it is going to cost him a lot of SCVs as 20 go down, and maybe he can kick them out of his base. Yeah, sure. But
sure.
What now?
I mean, the damage has been done,
are coming
right?
out.
Yeah, 4th on the way for Creator. Maybe the game is not 100% over. Maybe it's not over at all, but I mean, you had such a huge lead, and now it's swung the other way at the very least, right? Like, definitely the game in the grips of Creator here, as GuMiho tries to punish here. If he could have caught that Colossus without any units under it, maybe that would have been his way back in.
There is no shield battery in the natural, and actually Creator already has a 4th base, which, frankly, I don't know if he'll be able to hold. Maybe he should probably just forfeit it.
Yeah, but then this is good for GuMiho, back and forth.
Yeah, but I see no way in hell that he holds this base. No way. And maybe he even drops into the main. Honestly, he can kill this,
this is good.
Reaper wall over here.
Okay.
As the Widowmine burrows into the third unsuccessfully, but this is GuMiho's ticket back into the game with Creator overextending there a little bit and losing all of his army. But
Yeah.
still, it's still a winnable position for Creator. Very winnable. He
This
just
is
needs to be able to hold
so
this.
back and forth. I mean, he does, but I mean, he's also
Oh,
behind in
no.
upgrades at this point. Yeah, the Widow Mines are a great bait, but they're actually not activating there on the side. The Colossus actually
There
is
they
pushed
go.
by its friend over to the Widow Mines, and now with the cellar reinforcements, it doesn't look to be enough. Both Colossus have fallen. That Widow Mine contributed hugely, and Phoenix, I mean, the army of Creator is probably just as expensive, if not more. But it doesn't matter if you can't really deal with these Marines one at a time. I mean, it's difficult for the Phoenix. There's energy on some of them, but they're not really using it. And red Marines, green Marines, no one cares. If you can't lift each one of them up, they will die instantly regardless. GuMiho with a comeback there. With multiple
Damn.
comebacks, it felt like, actually.
Yeah,
in
that
a
was
relatively
like,
short game.
yeah, really. One comeback into another. One player's comeback is suddenly another player's comeback, and that's definitely a bit weird in this case. I think the first odd decision for me was just pushing before, like you said, before Stim combat choose in 1-1 into the guy's shield battery overcharge. And he didn't even focus the shield battery, so it was just healing everything nonstop.
Yeah, so I was trying to justify that decision as it was happening to myself, right? I was like, okay, what does GuMiho see or think that makes it worthwhile to push? And the only thing I could think of is he made 3 Cyclones. Those are going to fall off. This is their power peak, right? Like, the only thing that I could think of is Cyclone power peak. But at the same time, you're going up against Phoenix, which is kind of like the counter to Cyclones. I guess he had enough Marines that he thought he could shield them. But yeah, really, really strange decision there. And then Creator kind of throws it back a little bit. And yeah, luckily for GuMiho, one of the advantages that he had invested in before that push was the 1-1, right? So he did have 1-1 against 0-0 for a short little bit, and then against +1 only. So
Yeah. I mean, Creator did the right thing, I think, by counterattacking. He ended up killing a bunch of the Marines and killed like 16 SCVs. But it just felt like maybe he thought the game was won, or he was just a bit too greedy. He didn't suspect that Stim was finishing along with 1-1 and combat shield. So
yeah.
he just ended up staying on slow zealots and blinkless stalkers there for a bit too long.
Yeah, and blitz a few units as
getting
well on the
wiped out.
retreat, like you were saying. So you have a naked Colossus as well, which is the worst thing in the world, right? Because it's such
Yeah.
an expensive, such a powerful unit that it really needs that base. So you bleed out 3 less units. That's 3 units worth of buffer where the Colossus outputs the full extent of his damage. Maybe with that he can defend the 4th at least, or definitely hold the 3rd, right? So even still, then it was a pretty close fight at the 3rd. I think with without the aid of that Widow Mine, without one Colossus pushing the other one to the side, he probably still holds, right? Like, that's still a lot of damage output from the Colossus that was missing, and a lot of very red Marines towards the tail end of that engagement.
Indeed. But let's see how that's gonna pan out for the ace match here on game 3 in Babylon. between Creator and
Babylonia,
GuMiho.
City of Sin.
I thought that was LA.
Maybe
Actually, I
it is
don't
LA,
know.
actually. I'm not sure. Isn't LA just super nice?
Oh no, wait. LA is the city of angels. So city
Oh,
of
yeah,
Sin
yeah,
is
yeah.
just-
Vegas, I think, is the City of Sin, probably.
Oh yeah.
That would make more
Vegas.
sense.
Yeah, indeed.
Because gambling is an art of the devil.
And I guess we can say Babylon is a city of kings, as these two Korean giants battle it out to decide who takes the series.
Yeah. And the King of Kings would indeed be named Creator in the bottom right-hand side for Team NB. That was the intro. You can zoom in now. You may now zoom in.
And on the top left corner of the map, it is, having just come back from the game 2, it is GuMiho.
Come here.
GuMiho.
Come here.
Beautiful. Oh, he's actually playing 2 gas now. I like it.
Okay.
Switching things up a little bit here.
Do
So
tell,
far he's
do
only
tell.
playing 1 gas, which means fast expand, But this time, he's going to play 2 gas, which delays your CC a little bit in favor of a faster factory.
Are we gonna see cyclones off of that factory again? Mac field?
Could be anything, really. It could be cars, could be cyclones, could be Widowmine job.
Okay, so the tell, it's gonna be a Reaper first, but I guess that's not too unexpected. And yeah, I mean, the tell here is going to be, as far as his follow-up, like how many people he leaves on gas or what, like for Terran players out there that are trying to learn build orders. Okay, leaves 2 per gas after the factory.
2, yeah, you just remove 1 from each gas, and then you're gonna keep it that way until your minerals are saturated. You want to start your CC right around 400 minerals, and here you have a choice of either going reactor on your barracks or making a second Reaper.
Okay.
So
So you were
instead-
saying it could be anything. That has this shapen up into anything yet, where it's discernible what GuMiho's doing?
Yeah, so reactor usually means he's gonna go into like a 6 marine, 1 Widowmine job. But
Okay, the classic.
yeah.
So starport will be the choice, and probably no add-ons for the time being on the factory. The Reaper's gonna scout that there's an adept. The adept is gonna shade him forward and try to kill the Reaper, but should only get 1 shot off, or none in this case. As the Reaper
Indeed.
slips on away. Second adept. What do you make of that?
Pretty
Classic.
normal stuff. I mean, usually you go into 1 adept and then rest on stalkers if you
Mhm.
want to go into like blink, but this is all perfectly reasonable as well.
Especially
you
with the
also need a
Reaper.
little bit of gas.
And I feel
Yeah,
like adepts gain
exactly.
value against the Reaper as well, right? Because they can shade it around and kind of chase it around. So
True. All you need is 1 shot on the Reaper for the shades to finish it off, so definitely worth it
Oh.
in this case.
looking for it, repositioning to get 2 shots on the Reaper. The Reaper chooses not to go up the ramp. And now
It does have the
Reaper-
option, of course, of jumping into the Reaper wall, and that will get the scout off on the tech.
Oh,
So maybe something GuMiho can look into doing later. And
do
like
you
I
often do
said,
that? Jump into the Reaper wall?
Probably every game.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. He's instead going to go into 2 Widowmine drop. I don't think he'll load up the Marines. He wants to keep those to defend his CC, I imagine.
Yeah, knowing the range of vision of the shade, I don't think it spotted that medevac there. So nice job from GuMiho readjusting as to not fly on top of it.
Dean. GuMiho really has been a bit blind this game, which is unusual considering the build that he's playing. It's
Mhm.
usually, in my opinion, it's a very adaptive build. So it really responds well to knowing what the guy is doing. But he's just playing kind of a catch-all build here with a tank and a Viking, just pretty much safe against everything. I think it's going to pan out just well.
Yeah, I mean, 2 Widowmines are not going to be able to accomplish too much here. They are going to burrow and burrow just to micro a little bit more. The medevac at least survives, and 2 probes is probably the best that he bargained for, plus a lot of mining time lost, actually, on the back of that Unburrow. So, I mean,
Indeed.
not the worst. Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, getting away with your medevac is actually kind of a big deal because it's a unit that can actually force the Protoss to keep some units at home, which definitely helps against blink all-ins, for example. But instead, actually, he is kind of going to go out on the map a little bit. Wow.
Blink is ready as well, but maybe Creator not spotting the medevac there in the back, choosing to forgive it for the time being. Vikings have landed. They are pretty strong against Stalkers. Those Stalkers gotta be really careful to cross here at the bushes as GuMiho checks to see if there's an observer spotting him or why he isn't falling into the trap, and there was indeed an observer to the side, but not able to get picked off with the Vikings on the ground. Now having lifted back up, GuMiho will at least be aware of the observer. But here comes Creator, and he does have Blink, so he's gonna push out a little bit and then retreat to the safety of the shield battery overcharge. And GuMiho once again fighting, this time perhaps unsuspectingly, into shield battery overcharge, but nonetheless great trades for Creator.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird that GuMiho scouted the 3-gate blink and he still decided to push into it anyways. But
This looks amazing. I mean, that's a lot of damage going after the medevac now, and Okay, this was looking better, and then it didn't, because those 4 stalkers that got loaded up never got unloaded back out, so they never dished out any more damage. Fair enough, though, they were really, really low in the red, and what looked to be a really good engagement for Creator turns out kind of like a wash at the end of the day. Now the stalkers are gonna look to see if they can cut some reinforcements. They should be able to. Their shields have regenerated. There's a Liberator that unfortunately they won't be able to catch for their own sake and for Creator fans out there. There is an Immortal, however, and very low units in terms of the Marines at the front, so they should be able to take down these tanks without much trouble.
Yeah, and Dark Shrine is already coming out, which is a great choice, except that there is a Raven on the way. But as long as he can pick off that Raven, it might be very powerful.
This Immortal is actually focus firing the Marines. It's not gonna matter too much, but now the Liberator in the main. Quick evacuation there on the side of Creator, reacting with the double prong or to the double prong aggression. I guess one of them was him initiating, and the anti F2 Liberator here from GuMiho. Respect.
Yeah, and I think probably Creator took the better end of that deal. I mean, what does GuMiho have behind this? He just finished his extra barracks, so his stim is gonna be about 2 minutes away from being done. Meanwhile, he's actually going up into 5 barracks, so that indicates he wants to stay on 2 base for a very long time, if not for the rest of the game.
All right, we'll see if that pans out for him, as 2 supply depots will finish at the same time to unsupply block him. He is now actually pretty comfortably above the limit there. Creator nearing it, but a little bit ahead in supply. Looks like an evenish game for the most part. GuMiho is ahead in workers, though, after all of this, and Creator also doesn't have a third, it should be pointed out.
Yeah, and I think GuMiho has an idea. I mean, he scans, he sees actually no production on the Robo, which is a bit of a tell that is going to be mostly gateway units. So I think
Fake
that might
probe there
influence
by
his
Creator.
decision.
He started a probe and cancelled it on the scan.
Oh, really?
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't catch that. That's pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
Pretty nifty.
Nifty.
Catches an observer with the Raven. Definitely very good for him, as those units are pretty expensive. And I don't know, Creator's just positioning himself for what, like a charge lot all-in or something?
It's definitely an all-in. I mean, he has been cutting probes. In production, there's only 1 Archon. He added an extra 2 gateways. And you were talking about GuMiho wanting to stay on 3 base. This is kind of perfect for him. And so long as he stays, if he moves out, then it's anyone's game. Creator could very easily win this, especially out on the map. And this is a large force from GuMiho, don't get me wrong. But running your timing attack into a timing attack is usually the worst thing that you can do. Liberator is going to siege here in the back. And now Creator looking for a big flank. This is really the fight that will determine the game. Both players basically all in. And they're both meeting in the middle of the map here. As the tanks are going to get flanked. The Immortal, one of them at least, gets shut down by the Raven, but the rest of the army of GuMiho is still pretty strong here, and they will punch on through. Both Immortals have fallen. The tanks now turn around, and what looked like a decent engagement that I didn't know which way it was gonna go ends up favorably, widely in the favor of GuMiho.
Yeah, GuMiho just microed the hell out of that fight and took a convincing lead in this game that, frankly, I don't know if Creator will be able to recover from. I mean, he still has a 6 gateway production, which is sure quite powerful, but look at this army of GuMiho. It has +1
Oh,
attack.
he's going for it. He wants to go before the reinforcements arrive. Blink forward to try to snipe the tanks. The Marines don't, or the Marines are not all connected onto the Zealots, or the Zealots are not connected to the Marines rather. But still, Creator manages the wipeout of the initial army. The problem is the reinforcements. The medevacs are almost out of energy. So, gas in the tank for GuMiho is not great, but he is 40 supply ahead, so things are looking pretty great for him. This tank in the back is also going to be a nasty surprise for Creator. And with that, GuMiho